Welcome to the SNF Spotlight Series, brought to you by Renewal Rehab, a dynamic therapy company that provides full-service therapy for nursing homes. You'll be hearing from some of the leading nursing home professionals in the country, as well as many healthcare heroes that are sacrificing day in and day out to help your loved ones recover and come home to you.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the SNF Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Yitz Rubin, with the best therapy company in the USA, Renewal Rehab. And I have the opportunity to be speaking with Erika Jackson. She is the Eldercare educator and advocate and researcher for the Samaritan Solutions. Erika, can you tell us a little bit more about what your company is and what services you provide?
Absolutely. Samaritan Solution is an opportunity to educate people about senior living options. It's a way for people to find out what this huge continuum has to offer and where they fit in it. So they get the best consultative services to put them in the right environment to age in place.
So as an educator for the senior housing industry, how have you handled the ever-changing regulations for your clients?
Working in industry, it's something that I tend to stay on top of because they change in this landscape that we're living in now. For example, with the COVID crisis, what's going to happen today is going to be very different from tomorrow. So it's staying abreast and really researching trade journals. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time researching online what's current and what's relevant. And then from there, I also look at different partners to know what's going on in their community. What are their mechanisms that they're putting in place to be a solution and to help people and to keep people safe.
So what made you get into this charity work? What made you start this? Like you've been doing this for a while, you've been in sales for a long time, and now you're, totally nonprofit, helping the community. What made you get into this?
I saw a need. My background was in traditional housing, and I started to meet seniors in that conventional environment, and they were staying places that they weren't necessarily safe in for the purposes of having a low-income apartment. And I knew there had to be something more. And so I segued into senior living and found that solution, but people didn't know about it because historically people only think of the nursing home. That's where you go when you get old. And there's so many other things out there. So I really saw the opportunity to start educating people as I was growing in the industry and sharing that knowledge that I was receiving, partnering with families, finding solutions, and learning this business from the ground up.
Where do you plan on taking the Samaritan Solution company that you're founding?
My goal is not to be national. My goal is definitely to be regional because I think that's where you have the opportunity to have partnership and relationships with providers. So those are the facilities and communities that I know that I've either worked in or that I have friends who have worked in that I can partner with and pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Erika, and I have someone who I need you to work with. I already know their criteria. I know their culture. I know their communities, and I'm able to make a really good match for somebody when that happens. So definitely, I want to stay regionally located. I've been based in the Chicagoland area for almost 20 years now. And that's where I have the connections and the relationships established because that's really how this business works on relationships.
So do you feel like things are changing? Like, are you advising your clients differently than you were a couple of years ago before this COVID crisis?
Absolutely. The landscape with the COVID situation has changed so much for so many people. There's a lot of backlash when the COVID crisis first started that the nursing home wasn't the safe place or the assisted living wasn't the safe place. And I was hearing things about my industry on a nationwide level that was disheartening because I know the good work that the people do in these communities. And I had to really start talking to people about, let's take a moment back, step back, and let's think about this. So if your loved one is in a home situation, think about the access that they're having, trying to have all these services in place versus being in a care facility or an assisted living community or an independent living community. Their exposure and risk is going to be significantly smaller because it's going to be limited risk with people coming in and out of the community. There are going to be services in place for them. So it's changed that conversation from that perspective. Then there were some scenarios where it was best for someone to stay at home because they had an infrastructure and support where they can maintain it at home. So it was really identifying the solution and the scenario that was best for the individual based on their circumstances.
So you're really getting involved in understanding their specific needs and, situation that they're in. So would you say, like, typically that it's safer to be in a home, or is it safer to stay at home and like build an infrastructure there?
If it's safe, yes. When you take into consideration home care, who's going to be that provider? Who's going to be that support network? And then on top of that, who's going to support them? Because typically when you have a provider who stays at home, it could be a home care or home health situation, but they're not there 24 hours, 7 days a week. So there's still a primary provider in that home. Who is it? And are they equipped with the resources and support they need to be successful? If you can set up a home care environment like that, because the person is going to be cared for, the person who's providing the care needs the support too. If you can optimize that where everybody's getting the support they need, then it could be an ideal situation. If it's not, then you don't want to put someone in a risky scenario where the caregiver may have burnout. There's issues that can occur from there. That's not the most optimal situation for care. So you really want to understand what are all those moving pieces in place and how can I get them in place for you? And if we can't, then what's the next best solution?
So being that things are constantly changing, are you following up with these tens of people that you're supporting throughout a given year? Are you following up with them and saying, hey, maybe now we recommended that you go to stay at this home or stay at home, and things may have changed. Would you say you have like a follow-up system to really walk them through as things change in their condition?
Absolutely. But my background is in sales. So that's kind of what we do by nature. We build relationships and maintain and foster it because my business and what I've done has been word of mouth. So building that relationship with that family in that process, I've earned their trust. It's not like I talk to you for 15, 20 minutes and then I provide a service and I'm gone. It's an ongoing dialogue where we're having some really intimate, in-depth conversations where we're getting to the personal issues in someone's life and their circumstances. So walking away, that's not who I am or what I could do. So it's always a check-in when I'm in the community, if I'm near the area, if I have the permission and opportunity to check in on my people, because I've become an extension of family. Sometimes people have cried with me. Sometimes I've had meals with people, just getting to learn them and understand their home and their community and where they're coming from. So I don't completely walk away from anybody who I've had the privilege to serve because I've earned their trust and I've earned that relationship.
So is it fair to say that, someone who works with Erika Jackson, it makes a friend for life?
Yeah, they do. And I think that's kind of cool. And their families and their friends and their children. And it's amazing, the network and relationships that I've been able to build over the last really 10, 15 years. It's been a privilege and a journey and an experience.
It seems like you're getting a little emotional with, talking about your clients and your friends. What would you say is like the biggest change has come in your role since COVID-19 started?
Helping people make the best decision for them is hard. I have a loved one who has dementia and he's at home with care with my mom. And I think about what would happen with them and how would I want them to be treated and what solutions would they want to have. And that's how I approach every conversation I have with the family. And sometimes there's some difficult decisions that have to be made and some difficult conversations that have to occur. And it's how do you do that with somebody and be respectful and earn their trust and get them to the other side of that challenge. There's a lot of raw emotions that go into making these type of decisions. I've had to make them personally. And when the tables were turned and I was that daughter making the decision for my father, I saw a different side of the experience. And that just totally enlightened me to those raw emotions of a family member. And fortunately, the place where I was placing my father was the place where I worked. And I was surrounded with people who already knew me and understood some of those things. But not everybody has that insider piece. Like, I knew the regulations, I knew the criteria, I knew the therapy hours, I knew the diagnosis. Not everybody has that. And so it's really stepping in and being that voice for people and being that advocate and partner in figuring out what's best for their loved one. And sometimes I cry with families because empathy is my superpower. You know, I understand people and connect with them. And I think that's the beauty of what I get to do every day.
So how does someone wants to work with you, they have a loved one that they don't know where to place, how would someone get in touch with you?
I do have my LinkedIn page, which has my cell phone number on it. We're going to be getting the website up hopefully by the end of this year, which would be the SamaritanSolution.org. And from there, it's just a contact or a click or email away.
Erika Jackson, thank you so much for joining the SNF Spotlight series sponsored by Renewal Rehab. And thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, and come back as there will be many more fantastic episodes coming in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the SNF Spotlight series. Please subscribe to our channel as there will be many new and exciting episodes from our healthcare heroes.